this weekend making apple pie.
Yay!
So,
what we got today, Mr. Boozy Bakers? This looks good. Cheers!
Cheers! We've got
rhubarb and ginger gin.
Edinburgh gin today.
Oh, I like this one.
So we've got a good afternoon from Victoria and a hello from Claire.
Oh wow!
People are coming on board now.
Hiya.
I feel a bit low.
Oh, you might be, because I did a workshop earlier.
Very low.
And I did change the height, because on a Zoom meet, you can't fit all of me in, and so I do lower the seat.
I do like to be slightly higher than you.
It's because you're normally shorter than me, Mum.
Oh, yeah.
So it's National Pie Week. If you didn't know, this week it is National Pie Week.
Oh, is that why we had pie last night?
No, it wasn't, but I should say yes. That's exactly why we had pie last night. But yeah, I just thought, I think we should make something. I think I said I was going to do more savoury, but I do tend to gravitate towards sweet.
Well, that's what we're about. Really.
It is. So I thought a nice apple pie. It's nice and wholesome. The weather kind of suits it, I think. It's a bit warming.
Yes. Well, you can have it either way, can't you? Because you can have it with cream, or you could have it with a really nice custard. So.
Or ice cream.
Ice cream, yeah.
So we like this apple pie. It's also really nice cold as well. So if you're thinking,
and it's almost healthy.
Well, it's got 105 a day in it, hasn't it?
Well, you could put 5 apples in, it's 5 a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right then, let's get started. So, clean hands for this one for sure. I mean, we all should have clean hands, but we're going to be using our hands.
Yeah.
So you're going to want 400 grams of plain flour into a nice big mixing bowl.
Still using these lovely mixing bowls.
I do like my mixing bowls. Well, it's good because it means I can show you what's going on in the bowl nice and easily. I know, I put that right from the corner. It's going to go wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's alright, I've got it. What happens if you only have self-raising flour?
Flour is flour, so it will work to a point, but we don't need it to rise even with this pastry, so plain flour is preferred.
Okay.
Right, and to that we're going to add in, we're adding in 2 tablespoons of sugar. This is to sweeten your pastry, so if you don't want it too sweet, you don't have to put all of it in. So this is an extra to the other amount of sugar that I told you about for the filling. Try and split it up now so that you know what sugar you're using and when.
It can get really confusing.
It can. So stir your sugar into the flour.
Yeah.
We have Kira, aged 15, saying hello.
Hiya!
And Ingrid is adapting by putting Dutch specular spices into the flour.
Oh,
it's the Dutch in her, so.
Oh, excellent.
Oh,
we
nice.
do like it when you get inventive and do different things, creativity.
I've not heard of that, so that's another one for me to look at.
Yeah, you liking this?
I do like these
I'll write it down.
So to the flour, we're adding 250 grams of chilled, unsalted butter. You do want this chilled because ideally pastry, especially short crust pastry, you want it to be cold. So obviously we're going to hand butter a bit now, but start off with your cold butter. We don't want melted.
That's why I always say that making pastry on marble is a really good thing because it keeps it all really
yeah, and some people marble rolling pins.
And some people have a marble board, don't they?
Yes.
Can you repeat again how much flour, how much butter,
yes,
please?
Absolutely. So it's 400 grams of plain flour, and we've put in 2 tablespoons of sugar to that and gave it a stir. And now I've just added 250 grams of chilled unsalted butter. I've chopped it up a bit just so rather than having one big block of butter that you've then got to combine with the flour, if you have lots of little bits, it just makes it that bit easier. I might have to stand up for this because I find it really difficult from that angle. So all I'm doing is
still in shot.
Still in shot, excellent. Is I'm just pulling the butter. I've lost my words today. My butter apart. We had a sip. So I'm just pulling it apart, and I want to mix that in with the flour. Just keep it coated with flour, and just press into it, and just push it in, and break up that butter. And the texture you're looking for is like breadcrumbs. It is quite a buttery pastry, so it will be on the buttery side of breadcrumbs.
I think this is called the rubbing in method, isn't it?
Yeah, you can get tools to do this, so you're not using your hands.
Yes, you keep saying you must get one.
I know, try one out.
Yeah, what are they called? Pastry makers, I suppose.
It's probably something like that. We'll have to look for one, won't we?
Yeah, treat ourselves.
Yeah. So this does take a moment, so just give yourself a chance and just use your fingers and just break it all up so it combines.
This is a good one for the kids. They like doing this, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's very dewy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like this bit.
Yeah.
A bit therapeutic, I think.
Yeah, just have your little zen moment doing it.
Yeah, and if you keep it covered in the flour as you do it, you don't get particularly sticky.
Yeah. I always do it and I sort of press my thumbs into the butter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got a couple more highs. Wanda from sunny Tynemouth and Mrs. Devi from Malaysia.
Oh, hi! Oh, it's lovely having you from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see.
Yeah.
So, we've added a few of our workshops to YouTube now, the most recent ones. I'm going to keep adding them, but if you do like today and you think, oh, you know what, I'd like to do more of that, not only can you do them every week with us, but you can go and check them out on YouTube as well and catch up on all of our fun ones we've done previously.
Can this mix be for crumble?
Yeah, you could use this for crumble, you could use it just like that.
With a bit more sugar.
Just like that.
Not like that.
No, you might want a bit more sugar. You could also put a bit of brown sugar into it to make it a crumble mix, so that it's nice and caramelised and just a bit sweeter. So yes, right. So to this mix, we're going to add an egg and we're going to add a bit of cold water. Now, I've said 2 or 3. I would go for 2. Sorry. And an egg, and see where that gets you, because you can always add a bit more if you need it. So if you can see 2 eggs on the side, we're only using 1. The other is for glazing later.
That's a smaller egg than normal.
Probably a little bit. So if we need a bit more water, we can. Do you want me to put it over here? So what we want this to become a nice dough now. So it's not a lot of liquid to put into it, but remember it's really buttery as it is. So this won't take a lot to bring together. So I'm just using my wooden spoon and giving that a good stir, but bear with it because I know it reaches a point that you think, no, I need some more.
Yes.
And actually, it's a bit like icing sugar when you kind of overdo it. It's got a bit runny. So just give it a bit of time. Now I think we need another tablespoon. I think you're right about it being slightly smaller egg than usual.
Yes.
So we'll put another.
Quite a shallow tablespoon, that one.
It is. Maybe do 1.5. There we go. So I'm going to add a bit more liquid to it because we want this to be a nice dough that we can roll out. If it's too crumbly, it's not going to be good. So, but I can see that it's picking up the flour at the base of the bowl now.
You can tell as it comes away from the sides.
Yeah. So we'll see how we go getting on with that.
Those that have been with us a little while will be getting quite good at knowing, won't they?
Yes. Yeah, we've done quite a lot of pastry. We didn't handle it for a while, and then I was like, actually, we're missing out here.
Yeah.
So I've been coming up with recipes that I've realised more and more when I explain to people like what makes us different is it's either got to be a quick recipe and it fits in within the space of a workshop, or it's got to have a cheat to it that we can make it fit.
You have to adapt.
I'm not a very patient person. I like, if I'm going to bake, if I'm going to bake something, I want to be able to eat it pretty soonish.
Yeah.
So I do like a few cheats.
Definitely.
So how much sugar went in?
Just a couple of tablespoons. So if I recap for you, it's 400 grams of plain flour. And then we just sweeten that with 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. We stirred that together, and then we added 250 grams of 250 grams of chilled butter. We rubbed that in to form like a breadcrumb mix, and then we've added 1 egg and 2 or 3 tablespoons of water. So thank you. Right, so I just got my hands into this just to feel, and actually I think that's about right. So I'm going to take that out of the bowl and just give it a bit of I don't want to handle it too much because I don't want to make it too warm. But that is how my pastry looks. So it's a ball, it's not like super wet or anything, it's not sticking to my hands. But neither is there anything falling off, it's not too dry either. So that's the kind of consistency you want. So let's get prepared first of all, because the next job to do is to roll this out. So then we've got to have something to put it into. So I'm using quite a shallow pie dish. If you've got something higher than this, that's fine, it's not a problem. But this is 9 inches and it's probably about 1.5 inches deep, if that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was 1.5 inches.
Do you reckon it's
I haven't got my tape measure.
About maybe 1 inch. But we've greased this already. So if you have something in front of you that you're using and you haven't greased it, just pop a bit of butter or margarine on a pastry brush, and if you haven't got that, a bit of kitchen towel, and just grease around the dish, which will just help release the pie when it's baked. So that's what you need. If you're doing something smaller, that's fine. I know a few people said they were going to make smaller ones. It's no problem at all. You'll just need to bake it for less time, I'd imagine, for sure. So I'm going to, oh my goodness, my word today. So with the pastry, we want to use 2/3 of it. So this is your maths lesson, children. We want to use 2/3 of it for the base, and we want to keep 1/3 of it for the pie lid. So I'm just going to roughly pull it apart.
Oh, I'd have to do that far more exact. I'd have to make it more into a tube so I could make that third.
No, I'm not that exact, but I think that will cover the top. If you're not sure, just
this
that.
This is Michelle's experience.
It's more half and half you got there.
Do you reckon? Well, I shouldn't have done that then. There we go, I'll put it back. So you just want, well, to be honest, if you've got a higher depth tin, then you're going to want a bit more. Mine's quite shallow, so I know I don't need as much, but about 2/3 is right. Now, put some flour down on your worktop because you don't want this sticking. So I'm not putting loads and loads, but I'm going to cover
You're
it.
not actually going to chill this, because usually with pastry at this sort of point you pop it in the fridge.
Yeah, which has always prevented us from using pastry, but this particular one, no, we're not going to. It's not too bad to roll out. So what we're looking for is a nice round amount that can fit into a pie dish, and it needs to be about 1 pound in thickness. Like, I did this again, didn't I? Because you went, what, 1 pound in weight? No, 1 pound coin. So just no more than 5 millimeters, probably more like 3-4 millimeters. It's quite a thin.
It's as thin, isn't it? Yeah. So we don't want it to be too much of a pastry-based pie.
Well,
you know how some pies are, aren't they?
I mean,
there's no filling.
No, this is all about the filling. It's a nice deep fill pie, but there is actually, I think there is quite a nice amount of pastry, but it does puff up, and you want it crisp. You don't want it.
No.
You don't want it, in the words of Mary Berry, you don't want a soggy bottom. You don't want it to be that kind of soft. You want it to be a nice crisp pastry to complement the apple.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, as I'm talking as I'm doing it, is I'm just making sure, lifting it, making sure I've got some flour underneath. I'm making sure I've got some flour on my rolling pin so nothing sticks, and then I'm rolling it out, and then when I get to a point, I turn it again, and that just helps me keep it quite circular, and it means that nothing's sticking. Now when it gets a bit bigger, the other thing you can do is roll it onto your rolling pin to move it.
You can see it's just slightly stuck, but just don't press too hard on the work surface as you're rolling.
No, you don't need to apply too much weight to this. Just gradually do it. And as I said, if you just make sure that you've always got a bit of flour underneath it, you can't really go too wrong.
She says.
There's still time.
There's probably somebody out there wanting to smack you with their rolling pin at the moment, because it's all stuck to
well,
the
if
work
it has,
surface.
ball it up and
back
start
up
again.
Yeah, it's not a disaster.
So I think we're about getting there now. So, Mr. Boozy Baker's found a pound coin to give me.
There you go.
So I can test it. Hang on.
How's everybody getting on? Are the children doing the rolling out, or is Mummy and Daddy taking over now?
Yeah. So it's a bit thicker than a pound coin over there. A little bit thicker, not too much.
Yeah.
Another thing, if you're standing up doing this is particularly, I've watched a few people do this before in workshops when I've held them face to face, is sometimes there's a real tendency to get the rolling pin and put your weight on it like that. Now the problem is, if you put too much force, and this really doesn't need it, it's not tough. It needs a delicate touch. But if you put your weight on it as you roll it, you end up with a thinner side and then a thicker side because your weight's all over there. So just be really careful if you're stood up doing this, which is, obviously I would normally be stood up, that you don't overcompensate on one side.
Yeah. And if you do, just turn it around and do the same again.
Right. What do you reckon?
I think that's looking pretty good.
I think so too.
You have to have a bit of an eye for this though, don't you?
Yeah.
So I have to try and work out that that's about right to go in, and then it's got to come up the sides.
Yes. So
But it can do a bit of cheating.
well, if you want to test it, get your dish and put it on, like I'm holding it above the pastry, so it's not sitting on it, but I can see there's over an inch on every side.
That will go up.
So that will go up the sides. So I know that's going to fit, but if you want to eyeball it, that's another good way of doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm now, can I see this all right?
Yep.
I'm going to, again, get the end of my pastry over my rolling pin and roll it towards me. So that's all nicely rolled, which will help me
Go the opposite way.
go the opposite way. So now my dish is there, and I'm going to lift it up, make sure that the...
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Did we grease that?
I have greased it, I have said to grease it. I think you
Okay.
got over there.
Okay.
So I made sure that this side, I can see that the pastry's got some cover, and I'm going to roll it over the dish, and I'm going to keep it loose because of course it's got to go into the edges. There we go. So now I'm going to use my hand, and I'm lifting up the edges and using that part of my hand just to tuck it in. Now by lifting it up,
It just encourages it, doesn't it?
and it
Just
stops it
sliding.
from staring.
Yeah.
Stirring? What, tearing? Just adding letters to my words today. Oh God. Don't know whether to drink more gin or have less of it, but it's not good. So I'm just lifting it up and pushing it in. You don't want to have any air bubbles in your pastry. So, because if you do, you end up with big pockets.
Oh yes, I've seen that happen.
So I'm just pushing that in until I've got it all set. Now, we're not going to go too crazy on the edges because I'm going to trim these up later when I've got the pie lid on. But if you've got excessive amounts and you're worried that it's going to tear your pastry because of the weight, you can just, you know what, actually a pair of scissors.
I was going to say a pair of scissors.
We did have a pair over on the side there. We still got some? Is that wishful thinking? I'm just going to guess, but actually a pair of scissors because you're not putting any weight on.
Green ones, Rich.
Just to cut it. There we go. So I'll bring this round. So I'm not going anywhere near the edge of the pie at the moment. I'm just taking some of the weight off. So I'm not going as far as the pie dish. I'm going to wait until I'm all finished to do that. But I'm just trimming enough that it's not weighing down.
This is an interesting one because my old pie dish had a lip, so I'd take it out, it would go down and then on the lip, and then I would trim it around that lip because that's where I was going to stick the top onto the lip. Your pie dish doesn't have that.
No, so what I'm going to do is I've just trimmed it enough that there's nothing weighing it down.
Yeah.
But once the lid's on, I'm going to trim the whole thing. I'm going to stick them together and then trim the whole thing to the edge of my pie dish.
Yeah.
So that's as much as I want to do with the pastry at the moment. Now, if you have the space in your fridge, you can chill this whilst we do the filling. If you don't worry, you can just leave it on the side. We've got questions, haven't we?
Yes. Katie's asking, is the oven supposed to be on yet?
No, it doesn't need to be on yet, but we can put it on in a minute. I'll give you the measurements. Oh, temperature in a minute. Right, I'm just going to put this in the fridge. Bear with me. So, right. Once you've done that, we're going to need another bowl.
Are we?
Yeah, we are, for our apples. It's alright, Mr. Boozy Baker's on it, but we're going to need a sharp knife, a peeler, a chopping board. Thank you very much. I'm just going to move that out for a second, just so you can see what we're doing. There we go. So you're going to need 600 grams of apple. Now someone asked me, are we doing this live or prepared beforehand? I know a lot of the time we do things prepared beforehand, but I didn't want them to brown. I know we could do lemon juice and things, but I just thought it's only a few apples, it won't take too long.
Rebecca's made a mistake and doesn't have much for the topping. If you have cut round the edge, you'd be able to add that to it.
Yes, absolutely. I've just balled mine up together, so all the excess, just put it all together with the other bits you've got left at the top. Yeah. So that's no problem at all. Exactly what I've done. So 600 grams, if you're using Bramley apples, and they're quite a good size, is probably about 3 apples.
This is the reputation you've got. Kate heard tequila, not peeler.
That's later.
Rona's saying, is it 600 grams before or after peeling?
After.
And I can't pronounce the name, I'm afraid. It was Mrs. Debbie earlier. What fruit is that? So that's your Bramley apples.
So it's Bramley apples.
The cooking apples.
Yeah, cooking apples. You can use eating apples if that's what you have.
Yeah.
If you want to add to this, if you want to add blackberries or raspberries, if you want to add some almond, it's yours. You know,
your pie.
You can put whatever you want in it. But
trust it to cherry or rhubarb.
Cherry or rhubarb pie.
When's rhubarb in season?
Not yet. No. But yeah, make it yours. It is about. I mean, you can make this pie and you can add 650 grams of apple, and it will still work. So don't worry too much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chop these up roughly, and then I'm going to weigh them. If it's well under 600, then I might add the 4th apple, but I don't think they will be. I really do think I'll be probably about 620 or something like that with these.
They smell nice.
They do smell lovely, don't they? I do like the smell of apple. So in terms of what size to cut these apples to, thank you. I would say I personally like a bit of bite to the apple still. I like to taste the chunks. If it goes too small, it might end up a bit mushy.
It can go a bit sort of apple saucy.
Yeah. So I'm going to do roughly chopped around this apple, so they are large bite-sized pieces. So I'm not even going to bother to cut this. No, not yet.
That's quite a big bite-sized piece.
Yeah. So I'm going with that kind of size. So it's a good amount, isn't it?
I'd call that a mouthful.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good thing to say. But I'm not being exact. You know, they're going in any shape.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I mean, you could do these in more slices if you wanted to, and if you've got some bits that are bigger, some bits are smaller.
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Some will go a bit more mushy, some will have a bit more bite to them. I think that'll be quite nice. So there we go.
You want me to do it now? Mind everybody else is doing it.
So Shriti's asked, she's got frozen blackberries. Does she need to defrost them first?
No, just pop them in.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah,
those frozen vegetables. Those frozen fruits are quite good, actually.
They are, yeah.
They're very useful. I don't use them as much as I should.
If you haven't seen already, we are doing a strawberry tart workshop. Tartlet, sorry, for next weekend. The reason I chose this is because I like them.
Well, you're a mum.
So usually I go with what people want and what the requests are, or what's on trend or something like that. And then I was thinking, what shall I make for Mother's Day? And I thought, well, I'm a mum and I like strawberry tarts. So that's as far as it got.
You get a lot of laughter for that one. So Rona's suggesting Eccles cakes for another workshop.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember making Eccles cakes from scratch.
Do you?
Many years ago. The whole puff pastry, the whole malarkey. And my ex-father-in-law was so impressed with me. So impressed.
Oh, and with this, there is a YouTube video that we put on for custard to go with this. So if you haven't found it already, if you go over to YouTube afterwards, you can make a nice custard to go with your apple pie, and it will be ready before your apple pie is out the oven.
We sounded really professional.
I know, I did. Right, so to your apple, you want to put in 130 grams of caster sugar. Like so. I love this. I do, because again, it's just easy. Wait for it. So we're going to do a teaspoon of cinnamon. If you don't like cinnamon and you think no, I'm not putting it in, it's not overpowering, guys. It's all right. No, it doesn't. But if you,
she does it every time.
I do. Just half a teaspoon if you're not sure. If you obviously really don't like it, you don't have to put it in. It's to taste, but it's not overpowering.
It just adds a little
warmth.
Yeah, it does.
And then last thing to put in here is some corn flour. You're going to want 2 tablespoons of corn flour.
Oh, I don't know about this. Is this to make the liquid?
Yeah. So I'll show you. 1, 2. Right. So, go on.
Can you just repeat how much sugar went in, please?
Yeah, so into this we've got the apples, and then we've put in 130 grams of caster sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 2 tablespoons of corn flour. Now, you look at that and you think, oh, that's a lot of kind of powder. We're going to give this a stir up, and you will see that it starts to combine, and it kind of makes like this nice caramelized looking sauce around the apples. It's lovely. So get stirring. I know it's not easy because they're chunks of apple, but just gradually just move it around and coat all those apples in that mix, and you'll see that the whole lot starts to dissolve into each other, and you end up with this kind of it does look like a caramel sauce almost around it. And what happens is, we're not going to par cook this or anything. We're not stewing the apples. We're going to put this straight into the pastry, and then as it cooks and it all goes softer and it's releasing those nice juices from the apples, it mixes with the corn flour and it kind of sets it a bit. So it's not just lumps of apple. It's got a sauce around it, and it's beautiful.
See, this is where I find this really interesting with cooking with Michelle, because I mean, obviously I'm a mum, so I've sort of shown her my
Yeah, you have.
And of course my apple was probably more of a treat than hers, but I would just get the pie case, and then I just sort of get the apple off the tree, peel it, slice it, and put it straight in, and then I just kept going until it got a pile, and then that was it, bit of sugar on the top, be done. But I find your sort of interpretations of the, just chuck it all together kind of approach that I had is really quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're still a bit of a chuck it all together.
Oh yeah, I am.
But you're a bit more chuck it more together with a bit more thought.
Yeah. I think what's nice is it doesn't tumble out.
Yeah,
so we had this with the apple turnovers as well that we made, and it's like you can, but then if you cut into it, you kind of have it all just fall out.
Yeah.
Whereas this kind of, it's not like set like a real, you could slice it and it doesn't move, but it just provides a sauce to it, which is just beautiful.
Rose likes to add cloves to hers.
Yes.
Can you? What if you don't have corn flour?
I suppose a little bit of flour.
Well, or custard powder maybe.
Oh yes.
You could put a little bit of custard powder into it.
It doesn't need a much.
No. Just half the amount maybe.
Yeah.
And can you repeat everything which has gone into the bowl, please?
Yes. So we have 600 grams of apple, which I've diced into kind of mouthful size pieces, as you said. And then we've added 130 grams of caster sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 2 tablespoons of corn flour. And I'm just giving that a good mix up. And I'll bring it.
You can actually see it. Yeah, I can see it sort of slightly.
You can see it kind of
smell absolutely delicious, I have to say.
I will bring this up to camera in a minute so you can see what's happened if you're a bit further behind, but you should be able to see that kind of liquid around the apples now. Can they see that?
Yep.
Right. There we go. So that is all mine coated. So once you've got that, you can start putting it into your pie. So I'm going to get mine, but don't worry if you're still stirring. Oh, yum. Right, so I'm going to start. Might be a bit of a longer workshop this week, but I think it's been nice to chat to you all and answer questions so much. So we're just
nice to know they're there. We're not just sitting here talking to ourselves. No, we're not.
So I'm just spooning this apple in and just making sure that, I mean, I'm not placing them in. It's not like a tart tatin where you want it.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that I've got everywhere covered and there's no kind of obvious area that's not got apple in it.
Oh, tart tatin.
I'm about to write that down, going, you're going to pick and jump on
Yeah, I do like a tart
Really do that.
Fiona's asking what oven temperatures. You haven't done that yet.
Yes, I didn't. You're right. So you want it on at 200 or 180 for fan or gas mark 6. And thank you for reminding me. Let's put that on. There we go. Thank you. I do like to test. That's what it is.
It is, yes.
Making sure you're paying attention. So.
Yeah.
So that's all the apple. I've just anything that's just left in the bowl I've just scraped out. But I'm happy with that. Right. So a bit more flour on your worktop. We're going to do this lid now, so we can finish off our apple pie. There is something I've forgotten to. Well, I've not forgotten, but I haven't done it yet. Is we need to glue the edges. So we'll come back to that, but you might have to remind me.
Okay.
So same process again with the lid, same depth. So just get rolling when you reach that point.
You can tell that's a bit warmer, can't you now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
There's also a bit of a bigger bit of butter there, so it keeps sticking to it as I roll over it.
Oh, just stick some flour on it.
Yeah.
Make it behave.
There we go.
Kate asked, is there any liquid going in with the apples and corn flour?
No. The apples will release the water
Their own juice.
Yeah, their own juice. So that will combine with the corn flour, and that will be moist enough for your pie. Right. Oh, I'm getting things sticking now.
Are everybody having this for tea?
Yeah.
Or is that going to be like an afternoon tea treat?
Jan's asked, can you make this pastry with spread rather than butter?
I wouldn't recommend it, just because it doesn't have the same properties, and it doesn't keep its form as well. So you can try it, but you might find it's a bit more sloppy.
Yeah.
Right.
And it certainly won't taste as good as butter.
If you're making this, but you want to avoid dairy, you can get plant-based blocks. So don't go for plant-based spreads. Get a block, and you should be able to make it with that. Right, so before I put that on, I'm just going to get an egg, crack it into a dish. Give it a whisk up. And then you want to paint the edges of your crust so that the top where the pastries are going to meet, just go round the sides, just on the top, and just paint it with egg. And this is going to glue the two pieces of pastry together.
Can they see what she's doing?
Can they see?
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Do you fancy doing custard creams?
Oh yes.
Homemade custard creams. Oh, there's no reaction. But Mr. Boozy Bakers is very good at moving away from the camera just as I ask a
There hasn't been
question.
any reaction yet. There has been a request. Can you use milk instead of?
Yeah, you can use milk if you want to. So I've just placed that over the top. I'm now going to use a knife. Okay, I'll do that in a minute. I'm going to use a knife, and I'm just going to go around the edge of the dish. So my knife is in line with the edge.
Perpendicular.
Right, so. Is it perpendicular? Is that the word?
Is it perpendicular?
No, I think it's vertical.
I suppose it could be perpendicular.
Now, if you find you've got extra pastry and you want to make a pretty pattern on your dish, you can do that. You can use a cutter or make shapes with your hand, make leaves and put leaves around it, whatever you'd like to do. I'm not going to, because to be honest, I just like an apple pie, but you can if you wish.
What else could you do with this?
And then you're going to crimp the edges.
You could make some tarts and jam tarts or something.
Yeah, you can definitely use it up.
You've got loads of yeses to custard creams and thumbs up. And Sheila says she'd rather have the gooey biscuits to the custard creams, so please go to YouTube and watch the video.
Yeah, gooey chocolate cookies is available on YouTube. I mean, honestly, guys, you've got loads, from pizza and pasta and ravioli and soft pretzels to lots of bread. We've got oatmeal cookies, sugar cookies, gooey chocolate cookies. There's loads.
And while you're there, subscribe.
Yes, please do. With the knife, just poke a couple of holes in the top just to let the steam out as it cooks. And then the last thing to do, if you are doing if you've used milk, don't do this. If you're using egg, then a great way to use the rest of it is to glaze the top for a nice golden crust.
So we've had a request for Seminole cake. So I've written that down. Rosa said quiche. Again, YouTube, please.
Yeah, we've done a quiche on YouTube. We might come back. Again, I think I might need Mr. Boozy Baker to write this down. I was thinking about doing some little goat's cheese and onions tarts.
Oh, now you're talking.
Yeah, I might leave it for a few weeks just because we've done a lot of pastry. But I might do a goat's cheese and onion tarts with you yet.
Is that tarts or tartlets?
Tartlets.
That's a tart, isn't it?
No, I'm going to do tartlets.
It's a funny one, isn't it? It's tart.
Well, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. The name. Yeah, they're very small.
Yes.
Neil's asked for Norfolk shortcakes. We'll have to look that one up.
We will look it up for you, Neil.
And Jan's saying making the pizzas tonight, made many times.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, it's a nice recipe though.
Yeah, it's a favourite here as well, isn't it?
It is. Right, so I've coated that nicely. Now, once you've got that all done, I'll bring this up so you can see it. Can I see that, Mr. Boozy Baker?
Yes, they can.
There you go. You can pop that in the oven at 200 degrees, 180 for fan, or gas mark 6 for 45 minutes. By which time your apples will have cooked down and be soft and nice to eat, and your pastry will be golden. And then all you need to do is just leave that on the side. If you are wanting to eat it straight away, I would leave it 10-15 minutes at the minimum.
Yeah, I would say.
You could leave it half an hour to an hour, to be honest, it would still be warm. But I would definitely leave it just for a bit, just so it can just
sort of settle and
set. Yeah.
Solidify sounds horrible, but it is that, isn't it? Just make it slightly more firm.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to the point that you can. I mean, I did make one earlier in the week that I cut it when it was cold, and it did a nice edge, and then the other side didn't so much. But it is to the point when it's really cold that you can slice it and it holds its shape. But really, it will still tumble. When it's hot, it will still kind of come out a bit. So you just want it to just firm up a little bit.
And would you put sugar on it?
Oh yes. I'm really bad at remembering things today, aren't I?
I didn't know whether you would put sugar on it now, or whether you'd put sugar when it went.
Funny enough, Rose has just asked the same thing.
Yeah, if you put caster sugar on it now, it will stick to the egg yolk. Oh, this is why it's good to have you with me.
Yeah, I'm a handy helper.
You are.
Somebody said that, didn't they?
Yes.
Nikki and Katie both asked how long in the oven?
45 minutes. There we go.
Somebody wants to adopt me, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good to have someone at your side to remind you that you've forgotten. So that is your apple pie for today. If you have enjoyed this workshop, do join us for future workshops. We also have a page at www.buymeacoffee.com/Boozy Bakers. I'll put it on our site as well, and you can buy us a virtual drink. It's not, you don't have to at all, but it does help if you are able to, just to buy the ingredients and equipment and so forth for future workshops. Here you go. Here's Mr. Boozy Baker went and got them for me. This is the custard creams. So I was having a bit of a play. So this is a custard cream of a custard cream size. And this is me thinking, and could we make ginormous ones, because that would be fun. So I haven't, you can see I haven't eaten it yet. but we have been trialling the smaller ones.
Yes.
And we'll be making these not next week, the following week. We're going to do some nice classic custard creams.
Yep.
So I'll put those up on the events page too. Right guys, we will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed today and see you then. Okay, bye.